Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the holographic display, her hands trembling as she processed the data before her. The pattern was undeniable. Children across the globe were falling ill with symptoms that defied medical explanation. As the lead researcher at the World Health Organization's Advanced Threats Division, she had seen her share of epidemics, but this was different. This was targeted. Dr. Chen, we're receiving reports from New Delhi. Her assistant, James, called out from across the emergency response center. Another 1,000 cases in the last hour alone. The massive screen dominating the wall displayed a real-time map of the planet, red dots pulsing with each new reported case. What had started as isolated incidents in major cities had evolved into a global crisis in just 72 hours. Children between the ages of 3 and 12 were the only ones affected, their immune systems attacking their own bodies in ways that shouldn't be possible. Sarah zoomed in on the molecular structure floating before her. The nanoscale machines they'd isolated from the patient's bloodstream were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. These weren't viruses or bacteria. They were artificial constructs of impossible sophistication. General Matthews is on secure line 1, James announced, his voice tight with tension. Sarah activated the encrypted channel. General, please tell me you have something. We do, Doctor. The Deep Space Array picked up unusual radiation signatures in low Earth orbit 48 hours before the first cases appeared. Whatever these things are, they didn't originate on Earth. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Humanity had known about alien life for decades, maintaining cautious diplomatic relations with various species through the Galactic Trade Commission. But this was an act of war. Are you absolutely certain? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Orbital defense satellites tracked multiple stealth vessels entering the atmosphere. We couldn't identify them at the time, but the radiation signature matches the particulate matter we're finding in affected areas. Sarah's tablet chimed with an incoming message. The latest casualty figures made her blood run cold. We're losing them, General. Whatever this is, it's accelerating. The children's immune systems are being completely rewritten. In Jakarta, Dr. Aditya Patel worked frantically in his lab, testing a theory that had seemed impossible just hours ago. The nanomachines weren't just attacking the children's immune systems, they were transforming them into something else. But why? What was the purpose? His own daughter lay in a hospital 3 floors above, fighting for her life. The thought of her suffering drove him to push harder, work faster. Across the planet, similar scenes played out in research facilities, hospitals, and military installations. Parents held their children close, watching helplessly as fever and pain racked their small bodies. Emergency rooms were overwhelmed, and governments struggled to maintain order as panic began to set in. In orbit, Commander Elena Rodriguez watched Earth from the International Space Station, her heart heavy with the knowledge that her son was among the afflicted. The planet below seemed peaceful from this distance, giving no indication of the crisis unfolding on its surface. A flash of movement caught her eye. Something sleek and dark passing through the station's observation field. It wasn't registered with traffic control, and its design was like nothing she'd ever seen. Houston, this is ISS. We have an unidentified object in orbit. Transmitting coordinates now. The response came back immediately. Copy that, ISS. Multiple objects detected. They're accelerating toward Earth. Elena watched in horror as dozens of ships emerged from what appeared to be some kind of cloaking field. Their design was organic, almost predatory, and they moved with impossible grace. Back on Earth, Sarah Chen received the orbital data and felt her heart skip a beat. The ship's energy signatures matched perfectly with the radiation found in the affected areas. This wasn't just an attack. It was an invasion. General Matthews, she called, her voice steady despite her fear. I think I know what they're doing. They're not trying to kill our children. They're trying to transform them. These nanomachines are rewriting their genetic code, making them compatible with something else. The general's response was immediate. A biological terraform. They're trying to change our species from the ground up. Sarah nodded, though he couldn't see her. Starting with the most adaptable among us, our children. Their bodies can handle the transformation better than adults. This isn't just an attack. It's an attempt at species-wide forced evolution. Across the globe, military forces mobilized. The WHO declared a global emergency of unprecedented scale. World leaders convened in emergency sessions, and for the first time in human history, all of Earth's nations began to coordinate their response to what was clearly an existential threat. In her lab, Sarah Chen made a discovery that would change everything. Hidden within the nanomechane's programming was a signature, a maker's mark. It bore the symbol of the Galactic Council, the very organization that had welcomed humanity into the galactic community decades ago. As she stared at the symbol, a cold fury replaced her fear. The Council hadn't just betrayed humanity. They had targeted Earth's children in an attempt to forcibly evolve or eliminate the human race. They had violated not just international law, but the most basic tenets of morality. "James," she called out, her voice carrying across the now silent emergency center. "Get me the Secretary General. The world needs to know who's responsible for this." The next 24 hours would determine the fate of humanity. As Sarah prepared her briefing, she knew that the world was about to change forever. The Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake. They had united humanity against a common enemy, and they had done so by threatening Earth's children. Humanity's response would shake the foundations of the galaxy. The diplomatic shuttle appeared without warning in Earth's orbit, broadcasting surrender signals on all frequencies. Admiral Jane Harper watched from the bridge of the U.S. Defiant as the sleek vessel approached, its crystalline hull gleaming in the starlight. After 3 weeks of watching children suffer across the globe, the sight of an alien craft made her trigger finger itch. "Life signs confirm a single occupant," reported Lieutenant Chen. It's a council member, sir. Specifically, Ambassador Corell of the Arcturus delegation." Harper's eyes narrowed. Corell had been Earth's strongest advocate during their admission to the galactic community 15 years ago. His defection now could mean anything: a trap, an opportunity, or both. "Bring them aboard," Harper ordered. "Full containment protocols. I want 3 layers of quantum shielding around the hangar bay." The alien that emerged from the shuttle wasn't the proud diplomat Harper remembered. Corell's crystalline form had dulled, its usual rainbow refractions replaced by a murky opacity that suggested either illness or extreme stress in his species. "Admiral," Corell's translator hummed, "I come bearing the truth, and a way to save your children." In the briefing room, Earth's military and scientific leadership gathered virtually to hear Corell's testimony. Dr. Sarah Chen, still working tirelessly on a cure, joined from her lab in Geneva. The Council's decision was not unanimous, Corell began, his crystalline form trembling. "What you are witnessing is the implementation of Protocol Zero, a measure designed to prevent any species from becoming a Class A civilization without Council approval." "And what exactly is a Class A civilization?" Harper demanded. "One capable of reshaping reality itself. Your species, your children, they carry a genetic marker we've only seen once before in the legends of the precursors who built the galactic gateways. You are their descendants." The revelation hit the room like a physical force. Humanity had always wondered about their place in the cosmos. Now they were being told they were the inheritors of the galaxy's greatest civilization. "The nanites weren't designed to kill," Corell continued. "They were meant to suppress the marker, to ensure humanity would remain controllable. But the Council didn't account for your unique biology. The suppression is killing your young instead of merely altering them." Dr. Chen's hologram leaned forward. "You said you know how to save them. How?" Corell produced a crystal matrix from within his form. "This contains the complete code of the nanites, including their deactivation protocols. But more importantly, it contains the location of the Council's primary development facility, the facility where they're controlling the entire operation." "Why are you helping us?" Harper asked, suspicion clear in her voice. Because I have watched your species. You create art that moves beings to tears. You risk your lives to save complete strangers. You dream bigger than any species I've encountered in 10,000 years of existence. The Council fears you because they don't understand you. They see your potential for destruction without recognizing your capacity for wonder. Across the Earth, the first counterattacks against the nanite invasion began. With Corell's data, Dr. Chen and her global team of scientists began developing a cure. The process was agonizingly slow. For every child saved, thousands more fell ill. But something else was happening, something the Council hadn't anticipated. In roughly 10% of cases, the children weren't just surviving the nanite invasion. They were adapting to it. Reports began flowing in from hospitals worldwide of young patients exhibiting impossible abilities. Telepathy, telekinesis, and even the power to manipulate matter at a quantum level. The Council's attempt to suppress humanity's potential was instead accelerating it. In a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, 13-year-old Emily Chen, Dr. Chen's niece, opened her eyes after 3 weeks in a coma. The room's electronic equipment sparked and failed as she sat up. When the medical team rushed in, they found her floating 3 feet above her bed, her eyes glowing with an inner light that seemed to bend space itself. "I can see them," she whispered. "I can see them all." The Council, they're so afraid. But they should be. They really should be. Admiral Harper received the reports with a mixture of awe and strategic calculation. Humanity now faced a choice: use their children's emerging powers as weapons against the Council, or find another way. The decision was taken out of their hands when long-range sensors detected a massive Council fleet entering the solar system. The ships were unlike anything seen before, planet killers, designed to sterilize entire worlds. Corell's crystalline form pulsed with alarm. They're invoking the Omega Protocol. They mean to eliminate humanity entirely rather than risk your evolution. In orbit, Commander Rodriguez watched the approaching fleet from the ISS. The ships blotted out the stars, their massive forms casting shadows on Earth's face even from millions of miles away. But Earth wasn't defenseless. In labs and military bases around the world, the first generation of quantum-enhanced humans were coming into their powers. Emily Chen wasn't unique. Thousands of children were awakening to abilities that defied physics itself. Dr. Sarah Chen looked at the latest global data and felt a chill run down her spine. The Council hadn't just awakened humanity's potential. They had triggered a spontaneous species-wide evolutionary leap. The children who survived weren't just powerful. They were becoming something entirely new. The question was no longer whether humanity would survive, but what they would become in the process of saving themselves. As the Council fleet approached, humanity prepared for a war unlike any in history, one that would determine not just their survival, but their transformation into something greater than anyone, even the Council, could have imagined. The quantum development facility beneath Mount Cheyenne hummed with energy as Emily Chen demonstrated her abilities for the assembled military leadership. At 14, she had become humanity's greatest hope and their most powerful weapon. The quantum field responds to conscious intention, she explained, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance as she manipulated the fabric of space-time. Around her, a dozen other children, all survivors of the nanite attack, practiced similar feats. They called themselves the Phoenix Generation. Admiral Harper watched from behind reinforced quantum shielding as a 17-year-old boy named Marcus created a localized time dilation field. What had started as a tragedy was becoming something else entirely. The Council's attempt to suppress humanity's potential had instead catapulted them centuries ahead in evolution. Dr. Sarah Chen monitored the children's vital signs, still amazed by how their bodies had adapted to handle powers that should have torn them apart at the molecular level. "They're not just using these abilities," she reported. "They're getting stronger. Every day, they discover new applications." But time was running out. The Council's fleet would reach Earth in less than 72 hours. In orbit, humanity's hastily assembled defense force prepared for battle. Ships retrofitted with technology derived from studying the children's abilities formed a protective web around the planet. Commander Rodriguez, now promoted to fleet captain, coordinated the deployment from the newly commissioned ESS Humanity's Hope. The quantum shield network is online, her XO reported. All 27 satellites are synchronized with the Phoenix generation's energy signature. Crumble, who would become an invaluable advisor, studied the tactical displays with his crystalline form shimmering in agitation. The Council will have countermeasures we haven't seen before. They've been preparing for this possibility for millennia. In the depths of the Quantum Development Facility, Emily Chen joined hands with her fellow Phoenix children. Their combined consciousness reached out across space, touching the minds of the approaching Council fleet. What they found chilled them to their cores. "They're not just coming to kill us," Emily reported to the War Council. "They want to harvest our DNA, study how we overcame their nanites. They want to understand the precursor genes and use them for themselves." Dr. Chen's fingers flew across her holographic interface as she integrated this new information. That's why they targeted the children first. They knew the genetic expression would be strongest in the young, when human DNA is most adaptable. Around the world, more children were awakening to their abilities every hour. The nanite attack had triggered a cascading genetic response that was spreading faster than anyone had anticipated. But with power came responsibility and pain. Marcus, one of the first to manifest abilities, collapsed during a training session, blood streaming from his nose. "I can feel them all," he gasped. "Every child who didn't make it. Their pain, their fear, it's imprinted in the quantum field." The cost of evolution was high. For every child who developed abilities, dozens have been lost. The weight of those deaths hung heavy over Project Phoenix, driving its participants with a mixture of grief and determination. In her private quarters, Admiral Harper reviewed the casualty projections for the coming battle. Even with their quantum shields and enhanced weapons, Earth's forces would be overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Victory would depend on the Phoenix generation, children forced to become warriors before their time. The moral implications haunted her. "We're asking children to fight our war," she confessed to Corell during a late-night strategy session. The crystalline alien's form pulsed with sympathetic light. "They fight for their own survival and for the future of their species. The Council has forced this choice upon them, upon all of us." In the facility's meditation chamber, Emily Chen floated in a lotus position. Her consciousness expanded to encompass the entire solar system. She could feel the Council fleet's approach, sensed the mix of fear and zealotry in the minds of their commanders. But she could also feel something else, a deep resonance in the quantum field, as if reality itself was responding to humanity's plight. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore," she announced during the next War Council. "We're fighting for evolution itself. The Council wants to control it, to keep species from reaching their full potential. But that's not how evolution works. It's not about control. It's about adaptation, growth, and change." Dr. Chen watched her niece with a mixture of pride and concern. The children were changing in ways they barely understood, becoming something that transcended traditional human limitations. But they were still children, young souls carrying the weight of an entire species on their shoulders. In orbit, the quantum shield network pulsed with power as the Phoenix generation connected with it, their consciousness extending humanity's defenses far beyond what technology alone could achieve. They were creating something unprecedented, a synthesis of human potential and quantum mechanics that rewrote the rules of what was possible. The Council's fleet was now close enough to be visible to Earth's long-range telescopes. Their ships blotted out the stars, a dark armada intent on humanity's extinction. But Earth was ready. Project Phoenix had transformed humanity's defenders from victims into something the Council had never anticipated. True heirs to the precursor legacy. As the final hours ticked down, Emily Chen gathered the Phoenix generation for one last training session. In the quantum-shielded chamber, hundreds of children joined their minds and powers, preparing for a battle that would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of evolution throughout the galaxy. "We are not what they try to make us," Emily told her fellow warriors. "We are what we choose to become. And we choose to be free." The Council fleet emerged from deep space in perfect attack formation, 50,000 ships strong, their weapons already charged. Admiral Harper stood on the bridge of the ESS Humanity's Hope, watching as the massive armada approached Earth's defensive line. Behind her, Corell's crystalline form pulsed with nervous energy. "They're deploying their quantum dampeners," he warned. "They'll try to suppress your children's abilities first." Harper's jaw tightened. "They still think this is about suppression. They haven't learned anything." In the quantum development facility, Emily Chen and the Phoenix generation felt the dampening field wash over Earth like a cold wave. But instead of weakening their connection to the quantum field, it merely revealed new dimensions of it. The Council's technology was based on understanding gathered over millennia, but humanity's children were writing new rules with every passing moment. "They're trying to cage the ocean," Emily broadcast to her fellow Phoenixes, "but we are the tide itself." The battle began with a massive energy pulse from the Council fleet, a weapon designed to overload Earth's quantum shields. But as the pulse reached the defensive network, something unexpected happened. The Phoenix generation, working in perfect harmony, didn't just deflect the energy. They absorbed it, channeled it, transformed it. Marcus, floating in his quantum acceleration chamber, reached out with his consciousness to touch the minds of the Council commanders. "They're afraid," he reported. "They've never seen anything like this." The Council's second wave of attack came in the form of temporal distortion weapons, devices meant to trap sections of space in time loops, effectively removing Earth's defenders from the battle. But humanity had prepared for this. Dr. Chen's voice came over the tactical network. "Quantum synchronization at 100%. Phoenix generation. Execute Protocol Mobius." Throughout the defensive network, hundreds of children began manipulating time itself. They didn't fight the temporal distortions. They rode them, using the Council's own weapons to create a complex web of causality that gave Earth's forces a devastating advantage. Fleet Captain Rodriguez watched in awe as human ships seemed to move before their pilots gave commands, missiles struck their targets before being fired, and repair crews fixed damage that hadn't yet occurred. The Phoenix generation had turned time itself into a weapon. But the Council was not easily defeated. From their massive flagship, they deployed their ultimate weapon, a device that began to unravel the quantum field itself around Earth. They would destroy the very fabric of space-time rather than let us evolve, Corell said, his crystalline form dimming with horror. In orbit, human ships began to break apart as fundamental forces stopped working properly. The quantum shield network flickered as reality itself began to fray. But in that moment of greatest crisis, humanity revealed its final surprise. Emily Chen's voice echoed through every quantum-linked mind in the solar system. "Now we show them what the precursor genes are really for." In a synchronized effort that stretched human consciousness to its absolute limit, the Phoenix generation reached out not just through space and time, but into the quantum field itself. They weren't just using it anymore. They were becoming one with it. Admiral Harper watched her tactical displays in amazement as reality began to reshape itself around the battlefield. The Council's reality-destroying weapon didn't fail. Instead, it was absorbed into a new pattern of existence, one written by human minds. "They tried to change our children," Dr. Chen broadcast from her laboratory. "Instead, our children are changing the universe." The Council flagship launched a desperate attack, its weapons capable of destroying whole planets. But they were firing at where Earth's forces had been microseconds ago, not where the Phoenix generation had moved them through quantum manipulation. Emily Chen, her consciousness expanded beyond normal human limits, reached out to the Council leaders. In their minds, she planted not just defeat, but understanding. She showed them the truth they had feared for so long, that evolution couldn't be controlled, only embraced. The battle reached its climax not with destruction, but with transformation. The Phoenix generation, working in perfect harmony, created a quantum field so powerful it encompassed both fleets. In that field, time and space became fluid, subject to human will. "Your weapons are useless here," Emily's voice echoed through every ship in the Council fleet. "This is what you feared, not that we would destroy you, but that we would surpass you. Look upon your children, Council elders, and see what you nearly destroyed." One by one, the Council ships began to power down their weapons. The reality-destroying device was shut off, its energy absorbed and transformed by the Phoenix generation into something new, a quantum matrix that would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Harper received the Council's surrender not through conventional channels, but through a quantum transmission that carried not just words, but understanding. The Council had fought to prevent humanity's evolution, only to become witnesses to something unprecedented in galactic history. As the quantum field stabilized around Earth, the Phoenix generation began to withdraw their consciousness from the battle space. They had not just won a war. They had opened a door to a new stage of cosmic evolution. Corell, watching the Council fleet begin its withdrawal, turned to Admiral Harper. "They came to prevent humanity from becoming a Class A civilization," he said. "Instead, they helped create something beyond their classification system. The galaxy will never be the same." In the Quantum Development Facility, Emily Chen finally allowed herself to rest, tears streaming down her face. Tears not of sadness or joy, but of pure transcendent understanding. Humanity had faced its greatest trial and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, the Galactic Council chambers had been transformed. Where once stood a circle of elder races passing judgment on younger species, now there was a gathering of equals. At the center of the chamber, Emily Chen, now 15, addressed representatives from 1,000 worlds. "The age of suppression is over," she declared, her voice carrying both the wisdom of the quantum field and the unmistakable passion of youth. "We gather here not to control evolution, but to nurture it." The chamber itself reflected the changes wrought by humanity's victory. Quantum fields shimmed between delegates, allowing for perfect understanding that transcended mere language. The Phoenix generation had fundamentally altered how species could interact, breaking down barriers that had existed for millennia. Admiral Harper, now Earth's representative to the new Galactic Assembly, watched with pride as her former adversaries became partners in cosmic evolution. The children who had saved humanity had gone on to save the galaxy from its own fears. In the great medical centers of Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen led the effort to understand and guide the continuing transformation of human children. The nanite attack had triggered changes that couldn't be reversed, and no one wanted to reverse them. "Every child born now carries the activated precursor genes," she explained to a gathering of galactic medical experts. "But more importantly, they carry humanity's unique adaptation, the ability to not just use these powers, but to share them, to teach others how to awaken their own potential." The consequences of this discovery echoed across the galaxy. Species that had been deemed too primitive by the old Council were now developing their own versions of quantum awareness. The Phoenix generation traveled to thousands of worlds, teaching young minds how to touch the quantum field, how to expand their consciousness beyond traditional limits. Corell, his crystalline form now permanently altered by exposure to human quantum fields, served as a bridge between the old order and the new. "We feared change because we didn't understand its purpose," he told a gathering of former Council members. "Humanity taught us that evolution isn't a threat, it's a promise." Marcus, who had borne so much of the pain during the conflict, found his calling in healing. He worked with the children of former Council races, helping them overcome generations of engineered suppression. "Pain can be transformed," he would tell them, "just as humanity transformed its greatest trial into its greatest gift." But the transformation wasn't without its challenges. Some species resisted the new order, fearing the loss of their carefully maintained hierarchies. Others embraced change too quickly, risking cultural dissolution in their rush to evolve. Emily Chen and her fellow Phoenix children developed a philosophy that came to be known as the harmonic progression. The idea that each species must find its own path to advancement, its own unique way of touching the quantum field. In the dark space beyond the galactic core, humanity made another discovery. The quantum awareness that had been awakened in Earth's children resonated with ancient structures, the true legacy of the precursors. These weren't just artifacts or technologies, but seeds planted in the cosmic quantum field, waiting for species to evolve enough to perceive them. They didn't leave us technology, Emily explained during the first exploration of a precursor quantum nexus. They left us a path. Each species that awakens adds its own understanding, its own harmony to the greater cosmic symphony. On Earth, the scars of the Council's attack slowly healed. Memorial gardens bloomed in every city, honoring the children who didn't survive the nanite attack. But these weren't places of mere remembrance. Quantum fields suffused these gardens, allowing visitors to feel the hope and potential that had emerged from tragedy. Admiral Harper stood in one such garden, watching as a group of children, human and alien, played games with quantum fields, their laughter bending light and space in beautiful patterns. Carell joined her, his crystalline form refracting their joy. "We thought we were protecting the galaxy from chaos," he said. "We didn't understand that chaos and order are merely different expressions of the same cosmic dance." Dr. Chen's research revealed something else. The transformation wasn't stopping with the children. Adults were beginning to show signs of quantum awareness, though in different ways than the young. Humanity was entering a new phase of existence, one that would unfold over generations. The Phoenix generation, now numbering in the millions, spread throughout the galaxy not as conquerors or rulers, but as teachers and guides. They helped species recover abilities that had been suppressed, awakened potential that had been dormant, and showed how diversity of evolution strengthened the cosmic quantum field. Emily Chen, standing at the heart of the Galactic Assembly, looked out at the gathered representatives of a transformed galaxy. The quantum field showed her possibilities branching out into infinity. Not a single path of evolution, but countless paths, each unique, each valuable. "The Council tried to write one story for the galaxy," she told the Assembly. "But the truth of existence is that there are as many stories as there are stars. Our task now is not to control these stories, but to help them all be told." As she spoke, the quantum field rippled with potential. In the space between spaces, in the moments between moments, the galaxy continued its great dance of transformation. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged as something new, not rulers, but wayshowers, not conquerors, but catalysts. The children who had been targeted for destruction had become the architects of a new age, and in the vast quantum field that connected all things, the echoes of their triumph would resonate forever, a testament to the indomitable spirit of a species that refused to be suppressed. Out in the galaxy, humanity's children danced among the stars, teaching others to dance as well. And in their wake, reality itself began to dream of new possibilities.